What's up, everybody? It's Mark from Dirty Honey, and you're watching CMS TV.
It's the Ron Keel band right there doing a classic cover with the Ghost Riders in the Sky. And the Ghost Rider himself is right here in the studio with us. Welcome back to the Classic Metal Show there, Ron.
Thank you, Neeley. Hello, Chris. And greetings to all of your listeners, your viewers that are all right now saying, oh, fuck, not that Ron Keel guy again. No, not him again.
You know
Mr.
what?
Mr. Positive is back on the Classic Metal Show.
You know what, Ron? Nobody gives a fuck. You're a friend of ours. You could come on and be third mic every week if you wanted to.
I appreciate that, brother. And, in other news, I have a new song called Moving Target. Thank you. Good night. It's been one of those days for all of us, for our country, for you guys. I listened to the first hour intently and certainly echo your sentiments. And it's just if it weren't for the Trump supporter at the rally who lost their life and the others that are critically injured, but you can't. I don't know what to say or how to comment on this.
There's not a way, man. There's not a way. It's bad. There's no. I think I said this in the beginning of the show. If it was the other guy who I hate, if it was that guy, I would feel just as awful about us as a nation today. It's one thing to have discourse. It's one thing to not agree with politics, not agree with sides, not agree with ideologies, whatever. It's another thing to embarrass ourselves as a nation through senseless, unneeded violence on any side. It's just not a good look, and it makes us look terribly weak and terribly vulnerable to, and you travel the world, man, Yeah. There's a very different perception of America than we have in America when you go outside of it. And this kind of shit is the kind of stuff that they focus in on. They don't focus in on the good things. They focus in on, well, look at these clowns. It's a clown show over there. That's what they do.
Well, I enjoy the opportunity to travel. I just got back from South America recently, and nobody there was, there was no political commentary during the Ron Keel show. We were just had our fists in the air and screaming the right to rock, and that's what it's all about.
I saw Trump do that today. He had his fists in the air. We were trying to figure out what he was mouthing, and I'm pretty sure he was saying the right to rock. I'm pretty sure
that might have been it.
I think
sure
so.
That's what he was saying.
I think he was saying fuck.
I
think they say he was saying fight, but I think fight looks a lot like fuck. So I
thought I heard him say, buy that Ron KEELWORLD record. I thought that's what he said.
Well, I would, he's welcome to use my theme songs, Red, White, and Blue, which you just played. Thank you for that.
He also was going to bring out the Davy Vane song, Beat the Bullet.
Dude, I would have no idea how to do it, but I'd be happy to help figure it out. You really ought to get that Moving Target song to him.
Yeah, well, I expected a lot more backlash on this new Keel song. The response has been incredible. The first new Keel music in 15 years. And, of course, it is a sensitive, not the topic, but just the words. I mean, Pat Benatar doesn't do Hit Me With Your Best Shot in her show anymore.
Right.
Because of that sensitivity. So I knew that maybe Moving Target would rattle a few cages. It really hasn't. The response has been incredible. I sent it to our manager, Tim Heine, who was the manager of Keel, and certainly got Nickelback to the level where they achieved 60 million sales.
Sure.
Currently manages Tom Kiefer and LA Guns. And, he's a good friend, but some people may know that Tim was a gunshot victim. He lost his wife to gun violence, and he was shot 4 times in the chest as he watched his wife die. So it was really tough for me to send him the track. I know this is a sensitive topic for you, but I wanted to share the new Keel song with you. And the Moving Target all the lyrics are a metaphor for chasing women. I mean, that's what the song's about. And he goes, dude, I'm cool. I manage LA Guns. I mean, don't worry about it. That's all. okay, I didn't piss the guy off because I love him dearly.
Right on. Well, Ron, let's dig into Keel World. Before we dig into like the one song, let's talk about Keel World itself. Now, I know this because me and you talk fairly regularly, and Neeley, I'm sure, knows this because he keeps up. This is not something you just decided to do. This is not just another record you decided to do. Time to put out some music. This is something that took a lot of planning, a lot of organizing, and a lot of, correct me if I'm wrong on this, but a lot of soul searching inside yourself to figure out if you could even still do some of this the way you would want to present it. So talk a little bit about kind of the concept of what Keel World is and the difficulties you had digging into it, man, to put yourself in that place.
Well, obviously, it was time to put out new music. I long overdue. It's been, 5-6 years since my last original album, Fight Like a Band, in 2019, 5 years ago. And, you've got that drive, that urge to create. You want to write tunes, you want to record, you want to share it with the world, because it's what we do. We have that drive to create, and the industry's changed, but I haven't. So we started writing songs and working them up with the Ron Keel band. Some of these songs have been in our show now for several years. But it all really crystallized one night when I went to dinner. It was a surprise birthday dinner for one of our photographers, Justin Eckley, Fast Shot Photography, fantastic talent. And it was a surprise party for him. So me and his family and his friends and Renee and I, we all get to the restaurant early to surprise him when he walks in. And his dad sits across the table from me and shakes my hand and says, "Hey, Ron, what's going on in Keel World?" I go, boom. Light bulb over the top of my head. My wheels are turning. Keel World. That's where I live. That's my place. Keel World. That's my home.
Right.
And that's going to be the title of my new album. And of course, after a couple of Keel Fest events in 2019 and 2023, when we had Keel, Steeler, and Ron Keel Band all on the same bill doing the same show, during the dinner, I'm trying to eat and talk, and all I'm thinking about is, man, we could do an album called Keel World. We could put a Keel song on it. We could put a Steeler song on it, maybe an Iron Horse song, and some Ronnie Lee Keel country music, and just kind of make it really the story of my life, the album of a lifetime. And that was that's the catalyst for the concept and the idea. Now, Mark Ferrari had sent me this piece of music. Mark Ferrari, the lead guitar player in Keel, and one of the best songwriters on the planet, sent me this piece of music. And obviously, you hear it and you know it's a Keel song, right? And I literally put up the mic and started spitting out lyrics and melodies. And that take that I did, that first take on the demo, is the lead vocal that actually ends up on the album, Keel World, for the song Moving Target. And it was obvious, okay, we've got a Keel song. We've got to have a Steeler song, right? So I'm looking through my notebook and tons of phrases and titles and lyric ideas. And I see one that I had written down in a drunken stupor one night, said, "Give me guitars or give me death." Like the old classic,
Right.
Give me liberty. And I saw that title, "Give me guitars or give me death." And I realized that is a Steeler song. And I pulled out my riffs. And I heard this one riff that sounded a lot like Priest. And, that was primary influence for Steeler. Kind of put those words with that. So I've got a Steeler song. I've got a Keel song. I've got some Ron Keel Band songs that I'm really proud of. And so then you have the foundation, the core nucleus of songs, which is the biggest challenge for me, or it should be for any artist, is coming up with a great batch of songs. That's the hardest part. That's the heavy lifting. And then the next biggest challenge was getting everybody involved to participate, and the logistics involved with dozens of musicians all over the country, different producers, engineers, studios. Some of this was done in the UK. The Black Sabbath cover, which we'll get to, I'm sure, was done. A couple of great ex-Black Sabbath members joined me for that session. So there's a lot of moving parts, people sending files back and forth. And I'm one of those old school guys that really likes to be in the studio with the guys tracking like we used to back in the day. And I was there for most of the drum tracks so that we could build that foundation on Dwayne Miller, who played on the Steeler track and the Keel track, Jeff, the Rev Kohler, who played on the Ron Keel Band stuff. So I was there for the drums. And then you just start adding pieces to that. One of the biggest challenges also for me was this is the first record that I've done sober. Now, I haven't quit drinking, not especially today, because I don't drink. I don't drink before interviews. You guys know this. I've told you that before. I don't drink before an interview, and then the shit hit the fan this afternoon, and I have had a glass of wine. So, but this was the first album that I've done totally sober. I was not drinking during any of my tracking. The vocals, my guitar parts, and everything that I did on the record, I did sober, which was a challenge. We've got a real party drinking song on this called Weekend with My Friends,
right?
Which is a Ron Keel band song. And this is like if Van Halen was from Alabama, this is probably what they'd sound like. And it's a real party drinking song. We're talking about Jim Beam and Jack and Sam Adams and Bloody Marys. And I mean, the lyrics are all cocktails. And to do that one sober was probably the biggest challenge of the whole project.
Nice. Well, talk also, Ron, about, I'm going to go the other way. Talk about the ones that are outside of what you've been doing for a while. Because, I'm not comparing Steeler to Keel to Ron Keel Band, but those are all rock metal bands. Emerald Sabbath as well. But then you've got the Ronnie Lee Keel stuff, and you've got, Last Bottle on Earth, which could have been a country-ish type song if you didn't do it the way you did it. How difficult was it to put yourself into that frame that you haven't worked in a long time?
Vocally, it was very challenging. I mean, the screaming metal stuff like Moving Target, Children of the Grave, the Steeler track, Give Me Guitars or Give Me Death, those were first takes usually. But the country stuff there's so many little variants in the voice when you're singing that different style of music. It was quite a challenge. I felt like the record wouldn't be complete without some of that Ronnie Lee Keel flavor. And it's a big part of my life, a big part of my history. I hope that it doesn't alienate too many of the rock and metal fans that may shy away from the record because there's country music on it. It's toxic. But at the end of the day, the only person I really have to worry about alienating is myself.
Right.
And I wanted to make sure I was comfortable on KEELWORLD. And this is my home. This is all the landscapes of my entire career. And I'm really proud of those country-ish songs. There's one called Neon Circus, which is more of a modern rocker, kind of rockin' country, heavy, big, heavy guitars. But there's a real true traditional country song called Faster Horses,
right,
which could have been a George Strait song. And could be my favorite song on the record. I don't know, but I think that times have changed since 1995 when VH1 aired the special Ron Keel Goes Country, and it was big news, one of the highest rated specials in their history. And I caught a lot of shit for it. I mean, you could pick up the story of hard rock and metal. Catherine Sherman wrote this fantastic 1,000-page book, which has the entire history of everything. And I'm canceled. I'm not mentioned in there at all. And, I'm hoping that the fans will understand that I've never subtracted anything from Ron Keel. I've just added to myself, my style, my music, my personality. I never lost my metal heart. I never stopped loving and listening to metal music. I just wanted to explore some different territory and master it. It's a very tough gig to go into the country music field like I did in the 90s. And, you don't just put a hat on and put a pair of boots on and walk out there and pretend like you're country at a rodeo arena that's got 5,000 rednecks surrounding you. If you're not real, especially in the 90s, nowadays maybe not so much, but in the 90s, if you weren't the real deal, they would start throwing shit. And then after they booed you off the stage and you're running for the exit, they would jump you and kick your ass. And that never happened to me because I do have that style of music in my heart. These are great songs. Every song on the record, I do believe is extremely special. I'm very proud of all of them, or they wouldn't be on the record in the first place.
Right. Well, Ron, when you ventured into your country phase there in the mid 90s, and the VH1 did the little special where, well, I just got my guitar, I got my pickup truck, that's all I need in life, some good songs, and I'm Ronnie Lee Keel. Was that a direction that was just for the most part at the time? What was your vision then? Did you have a vision that I'm going to go this direction now, and perhaps if I hit, or if it, becomes bigger than what I thought that's the direction I'm going to go? Or was that just more like, I'm just going to do this and see how it goes, and then I'm going to go back to my roots? Or what was going through your mind at that time?
Neely, it started organically after the collapse of 1991, 92, when we were no longer cool. I lost everything. Lost the record deals, no more gigs, no more tour, big mortgage to pay, house on the beach, in Santa Monica. And it was a very sobering time, not to make a joke about sobriety, but it was tough. We went from here, and it was a very, very tough landing. Country music gave me a soft place to land, because all of a sudden it was me in the desert with my pickup truck and a guitar and the desire to create something. As always, I'm driven to create, to build shit, just create stuff, and whatever comes out, comes out. And I started writing songs on the acoustic guitar that sounded like, and I'm not the first guy to do it. I mean, Every Rose Has Its Thorn. It's a country song, fight me. Tom Kiefer is certainly, some of that Cinderella stuff was as country as, you got screaming vocals and all that, but that's basically 3-chord country music, 3 chords and the truth.
Right.
And so it started as a creative outlet for me to at least write songs and continue to pour this shit out. And then I realized that, man, every rodeo, honky tonk, and saloon has a country band, and they're all making a living, and the place is packed with hot chicks with big hair, a lot of booze, a lot of drugs. It was just like the Sunset Strip, man. Not much different. And I got a gig singing country music at a bar, the Dodge City Saloon in Phoenix, Arizona, and I built it up from there. And once you realize that, I got a gig, I got a job, I'm making a living, I'm paying the bills, then you start to realize, man, people are reacting to this. This is, and I had long hair, and I had the headset mic, and I'm running around jumping on the tables, kind of like Garth Brooks Jr., I guess. But people were reacting and responding to what we did in the band and on stage. We started to write work up some of the original music that I was writing and put that into the set, along with all the country covers that you got to do, Brooks and Dunn, so forth, to keep them dancing. And then I realized, once I had 12 songs in the bank, it's time to make a record, right? We got 12 original songs that I really love. Let's make a record. And that's when I really focused on trying to succeed on the business side of things. First, it was just, I got to write and create. Then I got to make a living. Now there's really something special here. And I think I can compete in this game, and let's go play ball. So that's how it unfolded, and we did. I had an immense amount of success in the 90s, over 70 songs from that country era placed in major television shows and movies, The X-Files and King of the Hill and the Daytona 500, and a lot of great TV and film placements. I joined a band called the Rattlers, did a couple of European tours, and all of a sudden we're on tour all over the world, playing for our military servicemen and servicewomen on the military bases throughout Europe and the Mediterranean. And so I'm really proud of that success and what we had there. It wasn't, I was still the outlaw. I was still not really accepted by the country music industry, because I was a long-haired rocker who said things in his songs that they maybe didn't agree with. I didn't kind of walk the walk or talk the talk the way they wanted me to. So I was never really accepted, and I never really felt at home until I combined the two, that country music sensibility, the songs that tell stories, and they're built around the voice and the melody, with the screaming guitars and screaming vocals and passion and energy and thunderous drums, which became Iron Horse, which is when I met you, Neely.
Right.
That band, Iron Horse, has a track on the new KEELWORLD album as well, which we can talk about. But that was when I was able to put the two together and find KEELWORLD, find my place in my niche, in a place that I feel most at home, and with a band that can do the right to rock and go straight into a Willie Nelson tune. We do that in the show at times. So that's the story of how the country years evolved and how I evolved into the metal cowboy, basically.
Right on. Well, Ron, I always look at that time, and you're kind of telling the opposite of how I always perceived it with you, before we even really got to know you that well, which was I always looked at the metal guys as giving you shit for going to country. Instead of the country guys accepting you, I always thought it was kind of the other way, that the metal guys were like, look at this guy selling out metal. Did you get some of that too? Because you were pretty ingrained in that scene.
I got it heavily then. I've gotten it even more heavily since the advent of the internet and Facebook and other social media. I get it every day. People, they hear about Ron Keel's got a new album, and you see the comments. Is it country? Well, no, it's not exactly, but there's metal on this record and there's cowboy on this record. But the metal fans, as you know, and I love them, and I'm one of them.
Yeah.
But metal to me, what I grew up with was, not necessarily Van Halen, AC/DC, Scorpions. Priest was metal. Priest was the band, and Iron Maiden, that new wave of British heavy metal that happened in the late 70s, early 90s. That was metal. And that's when I really embraced that art form. I went from being the 70s rocker to the 80s metalhead, and really embraced that term. When we formed a band called Steeler, we were metal. Steeler's a metal band. And the Steeler track on this new KEELWORLD album is a metal song. And we were LA metal. Our slogan, our catchphrase was today's metal, tomorrow's platinum. That's how we marketed that band. And we embraced the art form like no other band on the LA scene did. Motley Crue, Rat, none of those guys were metal. They weren't waving the metal flag like Ron Keel and Steeler were. We were the quintessential LA metal band at the time, and ended up being the lead track on that Metal Massacre album that Brian Slagle put out, and the rest is history.
Well, talk a little bit about, let's dig back to the songs themselves. I want to go backwards to a couple things that you said, and I'll start with the most quote unquote metals thing that you have on there, which is the Emerald Sabbath stuff. You mentioned that you worked with some past Black Sabbath members. I mean, it's not like you worked with the triangle player and the guy that, tuned the guitars. You got Neil Murray on this thing, right? And you got Bobby Rondinelli, for God's sakes. I mean, major players. That's
a cool story because, as you know, a few years ago, a producer in the UK, Mike Sullivan, Mad Mike, he is the biggest Sabbath fan on the planet. He's insane. That's why we call him Mad Mike. But he put together a group of alumni that had been former members of Sabbath or the Sabbath family. Rudy Sarzo, Vinny Appice, myself, and some other guys, Bev Bevan, who played on the Born Again album for Sabbath. And we did a tribute album with all of us re-recording the Sabbath classics. And I did Trashed. He hired me to sing Trashed, the Ian Gillan song from Born Again. And that worked out really well. It was a huge challenge vocally, but it came out really good. So he says, do you want to do Die Young? The Ronnie James Dio classic from Heaven and Hell. And of course I jumped at the opportunity. On that one, we've got Vinny Appice on drums, the guy who played on Heaven and Hell, the guy who originally did Die Young. So I'm really on with some rock royalty on that track. And we also did an Ozzy track, Hole in the Sky. So I did 3 songs on that record. I'm really proud of all 3 vocals and the entire project with all these ex-Sabbath members. And it was a pretty good success. And I got paid very well for the session, by the way. So when it comes time for Volume 2, Mike says, we're going to do Volume 2, Emerald Sabbath. And I want you to sing Children of the Grave. And I said, I'll do it for free if you let me put it on my album. And he was cool, said, yeah, sure. And this has Bobby Rondinelli on drums, who played with Rainbow and toured with Sabbath, and Neil Murray on bass from Whitesnake and Sabbath. Now, Bobby and Neil both toured with Sabbath at the same time, but they never recorded together with Sabbath. So this new version of Children of the Grave is the first time Bobby Rondinelli and Neil Murray ever recorded a Sabbath song together, and I got to sing the lead vocal on it, and really proud that we could put that on the KEELWORLD album to show that little piece, that side of my history. I was trying to write a Sabbathy song because I wanted to show that not more metal than Steeler, more metal than Keel. I wanted to really do something dark and heavy. And I had a couple of songs in the works, but I thought there's nothing more Sabbath than Children of the Grave. Let's put it on the record, and I'm glad it's there.
Well, Ron, where would you place Saber Tiger in the Keel World repertoire?
Oh, dude, I reached out to Akihito Kinoshita. I did that Japanese project that I did in '97. This is right in the middle of the country years when I had to do this really hardcore metal record with the Japanese guitar hero Akihito Kinoshita, and certainly the heaviest record of my life. And I reached out to all of my former bands, for instance, Fair Game and Saber Tiger, but the language barrier was so difficult, and there's a lot of years between Akihito and I now, and we weren't able to pull off a Saber Tiger song. But I said, if you've got a piece of music that you've written, send it to me. I'll put vocals on it. We'll have a new Saber Tiger song. That certainly a very special part of my history. It was short-lived, but the heaviest record I've ever done, and I'm extremely proud of it. Too bad we couldn't get a Saber Tiger album song on KEELWORLD. Fair Game the same way. I mean, that was a very special project for me. I reached out to the girls. We had some band meetings. We talked about it. We just couldn't come to terms. Really, we couldn't agree on a song. And the girls are, they know what they want. Well, they're girls, right? They're chicks. They, you know the difference between a terrorist and a female musician. You can negotiate with a terrorist. so I love the girls. They're awesome. And I would have loved to have made that happen. But KEELWORLD is what it is. And I'm extremely proud of the collection of songs we put together on this new album. I just got product today. I mean, I just cracked open the box, and now we've got both the blue one, which is in a jewel box. I know the fans love the jewel boxes, right? I personally like the digipack. So I made this one for me and all my friends and fans on Patreon. The only way you can get the deluxe edition, which is a digipack, is by being an all-access member at patreon.com/Ron Keel. And I'm not selling these. I'm giving them away. Every all-access member on Patreon, and there's almost 500 members, they get one of these for free. Tomorrow we'll start signing them and boxing them up. And I'm really proud of the booklet, too, which is really cool. It's a comic book. It's got comic book kind of some of the greatest photographs of my entire career. And nice. Renee, my wife, who is an artist, turned them into comic book type images. So I'm really proud of that. Every version of the album has the comic book booklet, and there are going to be 2 variants of the vinyl edition coming out on Black Friday. This is the same day as the new Steeler video, Give Me Guitars or Give Me Death, which we got to talk about if you guys have time.
Yeah, please.
I know you've only got about 4 hours left, so stop me if you've heard this one before. But what was I talking about? The
Steeler song.
The Steeler song. We've got the video, which we just shot in Hollywood. Now, this is a big budget, big production video produced and directed by David Pear, who does all of the Dead Daisy stuff. If you've seen any of the Dead Daisies videos or promos or online social media content, it's all state of the art. I mean, this guy does amazing work, computer graphics, 3D animation, all that. And when we finished the Steeler track, and the response to this song has been incredible from the entire Steeler family. Mike Varney, who produced the original Steeler album, Mark Edwards, who played drums on that Steeler album. I started sending out the song to these guys, and I realized that we really had something special here. It's a true rock anthem that celebrates that era, that genre, all about guitars and give me guitars or give me death. I mean, that's as metal as it gets. So I thought we should do a video, right? I reached out to Mark Edwards, the drummer who played on the Steeler album, because he's still been a brother and a good friend through the years, but you might not know. You probably do. You guys are hip to this stuff. Mark was in a band called Lion, right, with Cal Swan, Doug Aldrich, and Jerry Best after Steeler. He formed the band. They got a major label record deal. They had a great hit single called Power Love. They were right on the edge of hitting it big when Mark had a devastating motorcycle accident. And literally, I don't know how many, he broke just about every bone in his body, and he broke his back in several places. He was in the hospital for a year, and he never played drums again. but we've stayed friends, and he's gone on to huge success in business. He's a very successful businessman, and he's private jets. And, he's a high roller. I'm just the guy looking for my next $20 bill on my next tattoo, right? So we stayed friends, and he's been able to be part of the journey with me all these years. And when I told him I wanted to do a video for the song, he just said, I want to play in the video. And the guy hasn't picked up the sticks in decades.
Wow.
So Dwayne Miller from Keel played on the session and did a great job on the Steeler track. And Dwayne is part of the Steeler family as well. He did the Steeler gigs at the Keel Fest concert events. And Mark decided he wanted to play the drums in the video.
Okay.
And he went into training, sent his wife and kids to the beach house, set up his old drum kit, the same drum kit from the Steeler days. He found his old kit, had it shipped to his house in Dallas, and he's banging on the kit 4 hours a day. And to see that, it's comeback of the year for a guy like Mark Edwards, who lives, eats, breathes, and sleeps metal and rock and roll, to have that taken away from you and not be able to play. For this Steeler video to give him the opportunity to pick up the sticks, get behind the kit, and crush it like he did is a huge accomplishment for us. So that video is going to launch on November 29th, Black Friday, in conjunction with the 2 vinyl editions of the album. 1 single edition vinyl for Walmart and Target and Amazon, and then a double vinyl edition that can hold all of the content, the material, the bonus tracks, and all that. So we're going to have 2 vinyl variants coming your way on Black Friday.
Nice.
Very good.
Ron, I want to go backwards a little bit, and I may overshare here, and if I do, just say, hey, I don't want to talk about that. But I'm going to go there because I think it's important to the story of KEELWORLD. You, outside of music, Ron Keel, you are very much mogul Ron Keel these days, doing 4 million things business-wise, whether it's KRFK or RFK Media or running the label, or, you've got 8 zillion things going on outside. And you got so, I don't want to say overwhelmed because I don't think that's the right word, but you got so busy that you literally had to say, I'm leaving town, I'm skipping town, I'm not answering phones for a couple of weeks so I can focus on this. Talk a little bit about that and how important that was for you as a creative person to put aside, I don't want to say put aside the responsibility, but kind of pause the business piece of Ron Keel to be the creative piece. Because that's probably something you never had to do before.
Yeah, the business has taken its toll. It is 12 full-time jobs with all that I do. And Chris, full well, I don't have to go into it. Every small business owner in America is busting their ass 24/7 to try and make ends meet and trying to make their business a success. I'm no different with RFK Media, and I have a great nucleus of partners and associates that all work together to make this thing happen. But I'm the ringmaster of the circus, so to speak. And the radio station, KRFK Radio, I had to put my radio show on hiatus, Streets of Rock and Roll, and try and work from home. But man, I found, and that's why the record's taken so long to finish, is because there's always, you get sucked into the business and their emails are blowing up and your messages, and you got deadlines and stacks of spreadsheets on your desk. And it's just, by the time you get done with that, there's nothing left of me. So I did some vocals at home, but I got to come down to the basement, shut the door, and sing till I can't. And I felt like I needed to just really get away and focus on the album to get it done. So I went to a place in Phoenix, Arizona called Full Well Recording, and they have a vintage 1967 U87 microphone, which is my friend. I love that mic, and I parked my RV behind the studio. And I got out of the RV every morning. I go to the gym, work out, hit the studio. I did 9 of the lead vocal tracks on the album. I was only there for 6 days, 5 days of lead vocals. I did 9 of the lead vocal tracks on the album, on that mic, in that studio, because I just had to shut everything down. No phone calls, no emails, no videos, no nothing. Just to get this album done, get these vocals done. I love working with engineers and producers. I can do it here at home, and some of the vocals I did at home. Moving Target as an example. I did that one on this mic right here in this basement. It works really good for the screaming metal stuff, but it's still it's a nightmare if you're popping your peas or if your level's a little too hot or you have to engineer and produce. Well, I just want to put all that stuff aside and just let these guys handle it and just sing. Let my heart come out, let my voice come out, open my mouth and capture these songs the way they deserve to be treated. So I went to Phoenix, cut those vocals, and that was really the saving grace. That really put the album over the edge. If I had to do it myself at home, I think we'd be looking at a 2025 release date. But I'm glad this thing is done, and I'm glad it's out. And I want to encourage everybody, just check it out. Go to KEELWORLD.com. That's a subpage of RFK Media. And there's a lot of different ways to get the album. And if you pre-order the album on iTunes, you get 3 instant downloads. Moving Target is one of those songs. So we're in full gear now. This is the media cycle. Now this begins my interview, the interview segment of my summer, and I always give you guys the first shot. Nice. These are always the first interview that I do to promote anything is to come on the Classic Metal Show and let you guys pop the media cherry. So this is like my practice run and trying to figure out what the hell to say when people ask the questions that you're asking. And I just want to be real and be natural and be honest. And I appreciate the opportunity to do that on your show.
Very cool. Well, Ron, of course, we always enjoy having you on. And, the fact that, you're always thinking and planning and, having a vision and, fulfilling the vision. I mean, that's the kind of people that Chris and I associate with. I mean, that's what we do. I mean, I'm busy from 7 a.m. until, 7 o'clock at night, typically. And, I do other things outside of the radio and so on and so forth. And, a guy like you, self-made guy, Chris, self-made guy, myself, developing, this show over the years with Chris and, the other things that we do. It's just, it's always good to talk to a fellow workaholic,
I appreciate that. And,
I makes it happen.
I've said it before. I'll say it again every time I'm on the Classic Metal Show. You guys are a big reason why there is a Streets of Rock and Roll radio show and KRFK radio. Neeley, I didn't know that internet radio existed until I met you. And 24 years ago now, I think, was our first conversation on this show. And so you've been an inspiration to me as well.
Could you not tell us those years, Ron? 24 years.
I think so, man. Maybe 2001. Maybe it's only 23 years.
Yeah.
We are old.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy. Well, Ron, that's pretty exciting news. That's quite the interesting concept that you're offering the fans all the different sides of Ron Keel, and of course, Keel World is just very apropos for what it is that you're offering fans. So if you're a Ron Keel fan, I suggest you go out and get this thing.
Let me ask one more before we wrap this up, Ron, real quick, because last time we had you on, the R word was thrown around here, the retirement word. Now it's been some months. Now you have a record. Where are we at with the R word?
Well, a lot of people have asked about that. So, it's a subject we're going to have to address in every interview, including this one. I did bill our recent appearances in Las Vegas and Hollywood. I was back at the Whiskey with the Ron Keel Band, my triumphant return to the Sunset Strip back in Vegas, which is a former hometown. These are 2 towns that I called home and still are hometowns to me. And we billed those shows as the final appearances. And, my logic at that time was thinking, well, it took me 10 years to get back here. It took me 10 years to get the Ron Keel Band out west to Vegas and Phoenix. I don't think I have another 10 years in me. And honestly, I'm scared.
All right.
I'm scared. I know a heavyweight fighter is never supposed to admit that they're afraid. I'm scared to quit. I'm scared of who that guy is. The guy who doesn't do this anymore. Who the fuck is that? I don't know him.
Right.
And I'm scared to keep going. because I don't want to end up like some of my peers and contemporaries that are very feeble, that are barely able to get up there and be a shell of themselves, whether they are limping, barely walking, in a chair, or even perhaps non-existent now. And I'm not going to name any names, but I'm not that guy, man. I always envisioned the metal cowboy winning the barroom brawl and then riding off into the sunset with the hot chick.
Right.
But we don't always get to script our own stories. Life has other plans. So I don't want to, I'm going to have, whatever the last gig is, I'm going to have to live with that forever. That last show, whatever that last show is, I have to live with that for the rest of my life, because it's going to be a part of me. And I thought that after we got done at the Whiskey, 2 hour, 45-minute kick-ass show, just fucking amazing. The Vegas gig was off the chain. And I thought, man, I should quit now. This is it. That's how I want to go out. But no, we've got more gigs booked. So we still have shows on the books, and we have shows on the calendar. I can tell you I don't have anything booked for 2025. I'm not sure where that takes me. I don't have an agent. Everything you see me do, I do myself.
Right.
And I do believe with the momentum and the traction that KEELWORLD is going to generate with this new album, there's going to be some opportunities out there, and they're going to be tough to turn down. I really don't know what the future holds, but I do want to finish strong. I want to go out in a blaze of glory. Like I said, win that barroom brawl and ride off with the hot chick. So I'm not sure where I'm at with that.
All right.
I do believe I'm still delivering a good product, and I'm proud of my work, and the shows are great. I just want that last one, whenever it is. I want that last show to be the best ever.
Sure. Is there a part, and again, I'm going to play devil's advocate on this. Is there a part of you that says, you know what, maybe I just don't need to announce that. Maybe I just leave it open for as long as forever, and just if I feel like it's up there, then I'll do it. And I feel like I can do it to that level, then I do it. And
you can't make that announcement anyway. I can't say that. I could say, I'm retiring. This is my last year. And everybody's going to go, bullshit. That's Ron Keel. He's the cockroach that will survive Armageddon. Ron Keel doesn't stop. Ron Keel doesn't quit. He's
And you don't want to be Kiss either. And not to slam them, but I mean, you don't want to do a 15-year going away tour either. You want to be the one, and maybe this is me being a fan instead of being in the business. You want to be the one that is honorable to their word. I said this is it. You spent your good money to come and see the last show. I appreciate that. I'm going to give you that ticket stub that's going to be worth something as the last one. Yeah. Instead of, well, now we're back. Here we go again.
Well, I am blessed with one fact. The truth is if I stop, I'll drop. Some of these guys can take 8 months off and then come back. I can't. I have to sing every day. I have to be active. I am in game shape. I know that I'm not talented enough to just take 8 months off or a year or whatever and come back. I'll never get the pipes back, the strength back, all the stuff that it takes to be me. It's going to atrophy if I stop. So I know that there's not going to be any coming back once I do walk away or step away for any length of time. I'm not going to be vocally or physically able to just get back on that horse and ride. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to keep going as long as I feel like the opportunities make sense. My band is a big factor in this as well. I don't want to just throw a bunch of guys together and hired guns and call it Ron Keel Band. This is a family, and the guys have a say in this as well. And we've tried to make the right decisions together as to one more year or not. So we'll keep you posted. Right now, there's a lot of great stuff on the horizon with some great shows this year still, and I think there are going to be some more opportunities in 2025. So I don't think you're going to get rid of me anytime soon.
You don't think after a while Renee's going to be like, hey, don't you need to go out on the road for a while?
Yeah, I mean, that's a factor. I mean, I don't know who that guy. If I stop, I quit, whatever, retire. I don't know. I'm scared to be that guy. And I don't know what she's going to think about that guy either, because she's kept me going all these years and given me the inspiration, the motivation to work hard, to do my best and to finish what I started. So I don't know that she's going to want me around the house full time, moping and looking at old videos and looking, that was what I used to do back in the 80s, man. I don't think she's going to want to live with that guy either.
No. And somehow I don't picture either of you being, hey, it's Thursday night. It's Law and Order time. I don't see that.
Oh, no, that's us to a T, man. When we're home, we're home.
Right.
And, it's popcorn, the remote control, and relax for an hour, usually with the laptop in my lap.
Right.
And she knows when the laptop closes, I'm done. The night's over and I'm out. So
nice.
Unless I'm doing an interview on the Classic Metal Show, then all bets are off, and I'm all yours. And I can't thank you guys enough for all the support, the friendship, the guidance, the inspiration, and sharing, letting me share all this babble with your listeners. And all we really wanted to talk about was the assassination attempt today, and we seem to avoid that pretty well.
Yeah, we did that pretty well. So
you mean the Secret Service event?
Secrets. It was an incident.
Interruption.
It was
a Secret Service interruption.
Yeah, really.
God.
Really. Well, it's not funny, but my job as an entertainer, I haven't commented really politically since Biden won the election. I just kind of figured, just against my nature or my better judgment, just shut up and rock, and just be I can't acknowledge or comment on all the crazy shit that goes on in the world and in everybody's lives every day. My job as an entertainer is hopefully to give you 4 minutes or 4 hours away from all that shit. So we've just managed to do that for the last 45 minutes or so, and I appreciate the opportunity.
All right, Ron. Well, once again, why don't you throw the plugs out there where they can find this and how they can get it and all that good stuff.
The one-stop shop that you can find everything I do is ronkeel.com. The company is rfkmedia.com. All these websites are interconnected, and you can get to the online stores, the social media, the YouTube channel. Check out all the merchandise, everything's right there at rfkmedia.com and ronkeel.com. Of course, all paths lead to KEELWORLD, and you can go to KEELWORLD.com, which is, like I said, a subpage of rfkmedia.com, and pick up the new album. It's really important to have that physical piece of music in your hand. Neeley, I see that collection behind you every time we speak, and I love that. I'm a CD guy myself. I will not have a vehicle without a CD player. We've got one in the bus, the RV, my truck. First thing I did today was take this out to my truck and crank it up top to bottom. So I'm a physical record guy. I love my downloads, but this is something that I will hold on to and treasure forever. And I hope the fans enjoy it as much as I do.
Sure. All right, Ron. Well, we appreciate you coming on as always. And, the door is always open. So you were kind enough to send over this new Keel song, this Moving Target song. So we're going to regale the fans with brand new Keel, some brand new Keel from KEELWORLD. So, all right, that's it.
Thank you.
We're going to get into this tune here. So let's listen to some brand new Keel. And this features obviously Ron on lead vocal and Mark Ferrari on lead guitar. So here it is. It's Keel with Moving Target exclusively here
on your Classic Metal Show. What's going on, everybody? It's Chris Aiken from Chris Aiken Presents and Seth Williams Show and the Classic Metal Show. Speaking of classic metal, I know this just looks like a big old black binder. It's not. This is my book, Metallica, Cause and Effect Metallica. It is, it's all black because it makes it look mysterious. But what it really is a book about the Black Album. It's a little book that I wrote, talking about my experiences with the Black Album, as well as some of the band experiences. It's a fun read, it's a quick read, it's cheap. So it's available now over at chrisaiken.net, as well as on Amazon. So pick it up. Cause and Effect Metallica. Worth your time if you like Metallica.